This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Toon Tangent on Saturday Morning Mysteries. We're your hosts. I'm Grace.
I'm Alexis.
And this is a bonus content episode for y'all because we love y'all. And also like to talk about cartoons, which is the whole point of Toon Tangents.
We love you guys and we love to hear ourselves talk as well.
Yep. So here we are.
Here we are.
And so this is another installment, if you will, to our kind of like a mini Toon Tangent series in which we're talking about or telling each other about, you know, our recent adult animated faves, which can take many shapes and forms, including, what type of animation, channels, when it came out in the last really kind of like 2 decades is our quote unquote
essentially. Actually, that's probably a good baseline. And in the last Toon Tangent of this series, I said that it was like really anything that came out since like the stuff that we cover in our main shows, which, you know, Scooby-Doo, Darkwing Duck, Rescue Rangers, much older content. But I think maybe if we said like, since we were born, shows that have come out since we were born that we fucks with, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Adult animated in particular.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like to us falls a little more into that adult animated category. So Alexis is going to tell me about another one today. I don't know what she's going to tell me about, so I'll pass it to you.
So again, as I said in the past, you know, there's probably a lot, in theory, there's a lot of crossover between these lists for me and Grace, and we probably could talk about a lot of the same shows, but since we do talk about a lot of our favorite adult animated shows and other bonus content, aka Bob's Burgers, Futurama, and probably other ones I'm forgetting, I tried to stick with shows that I don't think she's watched or that I believe she's less familiar with based on conversations that she and I have had in the past. So the next show that I will be talking about today, another slightly more recent one. The last show I talked about came out just a couple years back. This one came out actually in 2014. Okay. And it is yet one that is exclusive to a streaming platform. Okay. This one, however, you can find on Netflix. This one is called A Bojack Horseman.
Oh, you know what? I've not ever watched it.
Ooh, okay.
Let's hear it.
Bojack Horseman. Let me tell y'all, this one is a toughie. So real quick, let me say toughie in a good way, if you ask me. So Bojack, it's a straight up animated dramedy. Like I won't really paint it. I guess Anna Black comedy, which no surprise if you listen to our main episodes that we are fans of Black comedy, gallows humor. So Bojack is definitely, it's a straight up animated dramedy. And it came out on Netflix in 2014. It ran for 6 seasons until 2020. So it just ended a couple years ago.
Oh, I didn't realize that. It was. Well, really quick, I both didn't realize it was only a streaming service. I thought it was Adult Swim for some reason. I didn't realize it was no longer on the air or
on the web, which I mean, it is in perpetuity.
You can still watch it. Yeah.
Thank God for the internet. Kind of. But so you can still go on Netflix and watch it, even though new episodes aren't dropping, which actually maybe will make it easier because you don't have to like stress about watching it before the new season comes out. And let me tell you, you're going to want to take some time watching it because some episodes are hard to get through, not because they're not good, but because they are incredibly sad. But let me back up. Let me give like a little synopsis of what this show is about. So Bojack Horseman, it tells the story of a washed up, essentially like 1990s sitcom star who is really just attempting to, he's like trying to recreate his life and, find fame again, really, but also like find purpose and understand meaning of life because this fast-paced Hollywood, competitive, overall American entertainment industry is very stressful, not only now, but throughout his entire life, trying to acclimate to this. And also it explores his background, his upbringing, and his fraught relationship with his parents, and how he's brought a lot of that trauma into his life as an entertainer and as an actor. And there's one other thing I forgot to mention about our main character, right? Bojack.
He's an actual horse?
He is an anthropomorphic horse. Ergo,
walks
the name
on back
Horseman.
legs, right?
He walks on two legs. He actually wears like a kind of stylish outfit, like nice slacks and like a sweater and usually a suit coat over top of it. Yeah. So this show, it takes place in this alternate reality where animals and humans like live and work and love one another, essentially. And so in addition to Bojack, the cast also includes Diane Nguyen, who is his a woman who he hires actually to ghostwrite a memoir that, like, this is his way of, getting back into the limelight. He's like, I know, an autobiography / memoir. So they hire Diane Nguyen. Yeah. She, as I said, she's a human. And then there's also Todd Chavez, also a human, who is essentially Bojack's best friend, who lives on his couch, on Bojack's couch, after he crashed there at a party 5 years ago. So he attended a party at, Bojack's Hollywood Hills mansion and just never left. I don't think Bojack even knew him when he crashed this party, but he just woke up the next day hungover and Todd was on his sofa and he never left. And it's actually cute. They're best friends. And I will say that Todd Chavez is voiced by Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, who I fucking love. Yeah, damn. The voice cast in the show is amazing. Like every single person in it. But anyway, more on the cast. There's also Princess Carolyn, who is a pink anthropomorphic cat who stands on two legs. And she is Bojack's business savvy, like straight shooting talent agent, essentially. And then rounding out the main cast is Mr. Peanut Butter, a perpetually happy and wildly outgoing Labrador retriever who also starred in a 1990s sitcom, but one that rivaled Bojack's, actually. So it turns out, he actually is kind of like Bojack's really close friend and kind of a confidant, but they're like frenemy. Well, Bojack sees them as frenemies.
As a frenemy, yeah.
Yeah, well, not even really. Like, I think the world kind of sees them as like, oh yeah, these two people that know each other, but Bojack sees him as his enemy because Bojack is very narcissistic and self-absorbed and was like, Mr. Peanut Butter's house, which was the name of Mr. Peanut Butter's sitcom, is doing better than Horsing Around, which was Bojack's
hilarious
sitcom.
Name, by the
yeah,
way.
Right. Hilarious. And on the other hand, though, Mr. Peanut Butter is like, no, Bojack, he's my good friend. Because he's like, again, this perpetually happy Labrador retriever. Yeah. And amazing. So that actually ties me into like the first reason why I love this show is just the nature of animals living in this same world with humans. And the writers maintain the animal like characteristics or like personality traits, even as they're doing human things, right? So for example, Mr. Peanut Butter, one of his gigs now is he hosts a morning talk show from his house where he just does interviews with different like celebrities who, come in, whatever, almost like Ellen, but if it was from her living room, right? Yeah. And there's this episode where he's doing a pretty serious interview with someone. And as he's in the middle of asking a question, the doorbell rings and his ears perk up. Like while he's on camera and he's like, oh, someone's at the door. But like, and then goes right back to interviewing. Like,
right, and like no one else human. Like pauses to acknowledge
they just keep, a PA just gets up and like gets the door and lets in the guest or whatever. It's like totally normal. And then there are just other like amazing animal related puns that they tie in. Like, for example, one of the major news networks is called MSNBC, but it's spelled like SEA instead of the letter C. And like the primetime host of MSNBC is like a humpback whale who happens to also be voiced by Keith Olbermann, who was like a very famous, he's still alive, but he used to actually be on The Real World MSNBC as a news anchor. And they got him for this.
Amazing.
And it's the same voice and everything. So like, if you're familiar with Keith Olbermann, as soon as you hear it, you're like, is this dude pretending to be Keith Olbermann? And then you look at the credits, you're like, holy shit, it is Keith Olbermann. Yeah. So they do things like that. Like that's just one example. There are so many celebrity examples of like David Pincher, the director, instead of David Fincher, you know, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the animation is like super hilarious. Like you gotta draw animals as humans, and that's funny enough. But they always have these like characters in the background, like the way they draw them and just like the direction of it is so funny. And this ties into two reasons why I love the show, the writing and the animation in itself. They always have, so the main characters are doing funny things like at the forefront of the scene, but in the background, like these random animals are in the background doing even funnier things, again, maintaining like those animal characteristics while doing like human things though. And the way that they draw some of them are so funny. So for example, I mentioned the character Princess Carolyn earlier, straight shooting Hollywood agent. You often see her doing like phone calls with Bojack while she's like at the gym running on a treadmill. And hilariously, they put like a catnip toy dangling from the treadmill.
That like the little like thing on a string.
But even better, in the background, like behind her on other treadmills, you'll see like a sloth is on a treadmill, but it's not actually running. It's just like hanging its arms on it and like chilling, like legs are just dangling as the treadmill's running underneath it. Or like the paparazzi are like all birds who literally just like flutter to Bojack's house and start like snapping pictures. So it's just the writing is so punny, and the way that they have to draw these characters interacting with each other is just hilarious. And then I will say the last reason I'll tell you why I like this show. I mentioned it before. You sometimes have to take it slow because it is very sad. Not to say that I straight up like sad shows, but I don't think I've ever seen a cartoon that makes me feel so many ways. Ways that I don't like. I don't like being sad. I don't like tearing up when I'm watching cartoons. Yeah. But like I said, it talks about this honestly very traumatized, washed up star, again, in this very cutthroat, competitive media and Hollywood ecosystem or like entertainment industry. And, you know, like I'll straight up say it. The dude, he suffers from depression. He suffers from anxiety. Some of the other characters also suffer from very serious mental health disorders. Bojack is straight up an alcoholic. He is straight up a drug addict. Yeah, it is tough. So it really is taking a lot of these real world situations and essentially, like if this show wasn't about anthropomorphized animals mostly, it would be really very, very hard to watch. Yeah, it's already hard enough to watch, even though it's like a horse standing on two legs going on a bender. Like that's pretty tough to watch sometimes, but if it were a human doing that, it would be harder, which is why I'm convinced they had to make it like this fictional reality. Yeah, because otherwise it would just be like a really sad cartoon, which why would you want to watch that? But I will say there's plenty of humor aside from the puns that I just gave there. Like that literally is just scraping the tip of the iceberg. I think all of those examples were in like the first few episodes of this like 6-season long series. So it keeps getting better and better. I will say the first like half of the first season is maybe a little slow. I still think there's some comedic gems in there, but it really is like season 2 is where it really starts picking up. And it gets a lot funnier. It gets a lot easier to watch. But the stories get sadder and sadder actually. And it ultimately is like a redemption story for him. Like the least likable character in that show is the main character, is Bojack Horseman. So it really is a story about him trying to come to terms with actually being just like a shitty individual and trying to make amends both for like the trauma he's put onto other people and also trying to come to the terms with the trauma that he experienced growing up. So it is it's a really, really good, powerful show, I will say. I'm like getting sad just thinking about some of the stuff that happens in it. I truly am, because It'll get you. It's like there are a few episodes you can just watch in a row, burn through them, and then like you'll hit the one and be like, okay, got to turn it off for
right
maybe a few days. Yep. Yeah. So watch with caution, but I promise you it'll make you think, it'll make you feel, and it'll definitely make you laugh. And it's extremely satirical. It shits on the entertainment industry and like news media in America so much, which is beautiful. And ultimately through all of the sad, deep dramedy, there is a lot of just like solid comedy, great voice acting and voice actors. Yeah. And definitely worth a watch.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I mean, you briefly alluded to it, but that maybe like the writers or whoever the creator of it was like, here's the plot line I want, brought it to Netflix, and they were like, we're not going to produce like a sad, washed up middle-aged man. And he was like, okay, but what if I made it a horse? And they were like, and they're like, great,
keep talking.
Because we've talked about before or briefly alluded to on the show of like, how do you and I deal with things? Through comedy. And so that's how it sounds like they had decided to take on those really heavy topics like mental health and addiction and trauma and all of that stuff by being like, okay, let's put a monkey doing something weird in the background.
Right, exactly. Let's make this a pink cat lady.
Or named Princess.
Instead of just like Princess Carolyn, instead of just like a strung out, extremely tired Hollywood talent agent.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, whose client is like the shittiest person in the world.
Right, like.
But it's cute if she's a pink cat.
right? Yeah, which like, yes, correct.
Yeah, it is. And she's hilarious.
I like that. I don't know. I feel like it like opens the door for more people to come watch it because being like, okay, we're gonna deal with some serious stuff, but keep in mind it's animals, right? But also like this is serious things.
Yeah, it is serious. It is. It's like, I mean, like you just said, like I kind of mentioned earlier, replace all the characters with or all the animal characters, at least with humans, and it would be like a really good drama actually. Like I would probably still watch it. It would be very sad and everything, but don't get any misconceptions. Like, yes, the show is funny, but if you've not watched it before, and any of you all listening or watching decide to tune into it after hearing my recommendation, do not come at my throat. Do not come for me when you find yourself like crying or like getting goosebumps from something that someone says or does in that show, because it hits some very, very heavy notes for sure, both topically and like emotionally. Like so check it out though. I promise you it's a good show. Again, watch it on Netflix. Excellent. It's not, there are no more new episodes. It had a 6-season run, so don't feel pressured to like catch up by a certain time. Just go in, enjoy it, and
take your time.
Thank me later.
And you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for sharing, and let us know in the comments if you are an avid watcher, your thoughts, feelings, emotions. Subscribe, like,
who's your
tell
favorite
a friend.
Character, maybe?
Yeah. Go watch the show and then come back and tell us what you thought, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus Toon Tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.